Can you hear me? Just be real. Give me just a minute. I'm working with my mic. Hi, Ronnie B. Oh, were you? That's what I'm talking about. See, you are officially a member of Into His Chambers. I know you can hear me on Instagram. I know you can hear me on Facebook. I have a mic. So hold on just a minute. Let me make sure my mic is connected. Hold on. Okay, it probably is not. Give me just a second, y'all. Okay. That better? I got to test my mic. I got a new mic. So I guess it is not operating at this particular time. Y'all forgive me. Forgive me. I got to figure out why this is not working. And let me turn this back off. Okay. Now you guys can hear me. Hey, Karen, how are you doing? Hey there, Wrenches. I know who that is. You can't move to Washington? Aw. You're officially a member of Into His Chambers. So you guys can hear. Okay. I got a new microphone for you guys on YouTube. And so I connected it, but it wasn't working. So you guys got to give me a minute. You guys give me a minute to connect this. I'll try it when I come off air. So for now, I'll put it back in the little box. I'll figure it out. How's everyone doing? Good to see you guys. Let me put my peepers on. Let me put my peepers on. Okay, there we go. Hold on. All right, there we go. Okay, I'm good now. I just disconnected the microphone. So I hope you guys are having a great evening. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm going to make sure I make it quick because Just Be Real was bullying me before I came on air. She was bullying me. She thought I was going to be moved emotionally. She told me she stumped her foot and said, I'm going to bed because I was taking too long. Y'all get her. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate all of you guys. I got a new microphone, but I'll test the microphone like after I get off air. I put the microphone on to hope that you guys can hear me, but that's okay. I'll fix it. So good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to make sure I do this quick and we jump in and jump back out because I want to respect Just Be Real's time. I know she comes on and she sacrifices. She comes on for me. And I know she got to go to work early in the morning. So I want to make sure that we get right to it and we start having this conversation. So I want to make sure that those of you that don't know me, now my name is Dr. Carmen Bryant. I am the host of Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. Let me make sure I got my, give me a minute. Let me make sure I got my lights on over here, okay? Thank you so much. Is it Roseanne Norris? How are you doing? Thank you for being here. Give me a second. Let me turn on my light over here. Give me a minute. Lighting on. So give me a minute. My lighting is on. I don't see the lighting, but it says it's on. So let's see. Oh, no, we don't want the green screen. Let me take the green screen back off. We don't want the green screen. Give me a minute, y'all. And my camera turn around with me. We do not want the green screen. Okay, I guess it... Hey, let's just put Seattle in the background then. I got Seattle in the background. All right. Y'all got a new telephone. And so I'm still trying to work this new thing out. So I got Seattle back here in the background over here on YouTube. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Let me adjust my camera. Well, for those of you, I am Beautiful One. Hey there. How are you doing? I know who that is. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And do know that with the new camera, to keep zooming in and out. So I'm not trying to get into your face, but I'm in your face. See Seattle in the background, y'all? Got Seattle back here. Not Instagram and not Facebook, but over here on YouTube. I got Seattle back there in the background. So thank you guys so much for joining me. My name is Dr. Carmen Bryant. I am the host of Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. I am also the host of Car Chronicles. I know you guys haven't seen me for a little while because of the fact that I have been working on some things. I have been working on some things. You guys know I'm getting ready to open up the Coaching Institute. And I just finished some major projects that I had to get done immediately. And so give me about a week so that I can do the live webinar to introduce to you guys my new Coaching Institute. And I'll be offering you guys the first module. So when you come to the free webinar, I will be introducing that to you, and I would be introducing to you what I will be offering to you. And one of the biggest things I want to make sure is that you guys don't get sued. That's number one. And that you understand that coaching is a legitimate business. It's a billion-dollar industry right now. And when we talk about coaching, I know many of you guys are accustomed to seeing me talk about narcissist abuse, but you guys know that I do more than just talk about narcissist abuse. I am retired military. I served as a first sergeant before I came out of the military. And so I would like to introduce to you guys also the concept of business and leadership. For those of you that are wanting to go into the business aspect of coaching, you know, the money's out there to be made. Some of you guys are very astute at what you do, very skilled at what you do. You guys are very professional at what you do. And a lot of you guys, believe it or not, are making millions of dollars for your company. You're giving $1 million ideas, and a lot of these $1 million ideas could be your ideas when it comes to coaching. But I'm going to be introducing that to you, and of course, making sure that you guys understand the profession of coaching, giving you some foundation, and then helping you by introducing to you how to set the business up. You know, so I would help you to set the well, I will help you. I'm going to tell you how to set the business up. Now, if you want me to help you do it one-on-one, that's a totally different package when it comes to coaching, when it comes to coach training. But I will be introducing that, and I will give you more details when I do the free webinar. All of you guys are invited. I will have a link for you guys to sign up. And Just Be Real will be assisting me. And those of you, and I know she don't want me to give her government name, but for professional reasons, of course, Miss Charcetta Felton is my administrative assistant and my personal assistant whenever we travel. And so I also want to give her my deepest gratitude, because she does a lot of things for me, like running up and down those stairs or going up and down those elevators to get stuff for me. And then even know when I'm thirsty and I need to be drinking water, she'll text me while I'm talking to tell me to go drink some water. So, but I appreciate you, and I appreciate you. Just Be Real, because I know it's a sacrifice to be on this late. So we're going to get to it, right? And hey, Danielle. It's my sister. Yeah, it is Seattle in the background. Now, every time I move, the camera moves with me, so you guys forgive me. So if you guys go look over there on YouTube, I got a new toy. So my camera and my little stand moves around. So as much as I move, the camera moves with me. But my daughter took a picture of Seattle this evening as I was dropping her back off at school. And so that's a beautiful background. So I decided to use it as a background. But anyway, let's get to what we're going to talk about. I wanted to talk about, because somebody asked me the question wanted me to talk about indoctrination, the narcissist indoctrination. One of the things that she was focused on was when family indoctrinates you. And so I want to, of course, as you guys know, I'm a teacher at heart, and I like to teach, I like to lay that foundation, because once I lay that foundation, when you start thinking about what I teach you, you can apply it to any situation. Understand that a narcissist abuse cycle is a narcissist abuse cycle. They use it in all areas of their life, whether they're dealing with family, whether they're dealing with an intimate partner, whether they're dealing with their children, whether they're dealing with close friends. The narcissist cycle, that abuse cycle, is exactly the same. It may just be implemented a little different when it comes to intimate partners versus business versus family. Family does the same thing. So allow me to lay this out for you first. When we talk about indoctrination, now I know some of you guys are very astute, very articulate in your speech. I try to speak in layman terms. I try not to talk over nobody's head. That sounds real country, but I try not to talk over anybody's head. Number one, because of the fact that when I was going through my doctorate, the professors there told us, and I have a doctor of education. So I operate when I do therapy. I'm a licensed mental health professional here in the state of Washington, and I'm pending my license in Texas. But I provide therapy on a master's level. But the educational portion, hey, Jamal, how are you doing, sir? But when I provide education, put together programs, that is done on a doctoral level. And so I remember as a doctor of education, the professors that were there for our residents let us know that with a doctor's degree, you cannot be the smartest person in the room. If you're not, if you get this degree, your degree is not even worth the paper that is written on if you can't take people and bring them up to your level of understanding. If you're talking above their head and they don't understand what you're talking about, you're just as dumb as they are, because you're not teaching them anything and they don't understand anything that you're saying. And so, even in the military, the manuals are written on a 7th and 8th grade level, so I make sure that even though we can speak clinical, I make sure that everybody can understand and you can apply to every aspect of your life. And so having said that, I want to lay a foundation by saying that when you talk about indoctrination, and like I said, many of you guys have, some of you are very articulate when it comes to, definitions and things like that. But I'm just going to say it the way that I, when I read it, the way that I can interpret it. When you're talking about indoctrination, you're talking about teaching somebody. And a lot of times you find the indoctrination in cults. You find it in like religious cults or like extremist groups. And what they do is they take normal people, and I'm going to talk about the kids in a minute, but they take normal people and they teach them a very biased way of thinking. They reprogram them or reteach them, things in a very extreme way. What's right is wrong, what's wrong is right. And especially like if you look at documentaries on cults, they will take the truth and mix it with a lie. They'll take what they come up with, or what their extreme beliefs are, and then they may take truth or biblical principle or doctrine from somewhere, and they take that to try to prove their extremist thinking, and so a lot of times it's hard to argue with that because here is some truth, but it's mixed up with a lie. So if you mix truth with a lie, it's what? It's a lie. It's not the truth. That is not the truth. You're giving half of the truth and half of a lie. That's still a lie. It doesn't make any difference. It's still a lie and it's still extreme. Well, when you're dealing with indoctrination, that's exactly what they do. They slowly and systematically change the way that you think about things, change the way, and a lot of times it also surrounds a lot of racist prejudice, but extremist sexism, a lot of things, just put it that way. But they change you systematically. It's like, when I say systematically, it's like you heard of the frog in the boiling water theory, right? The frog in the pot theory, which you put a frog in a pot and you slowly start turning the water up. As it gets warmer, it adjusts its body temperature to the temperature of the water. By the time it realizes it's boiling to death, the water's too hot, it's already too late, it's boiling to death. And so that's the exact same way when it comes to indoctrination. They retrain you to rethink differently, and a lot of times it's very biased, it's very extreme, and they back it up with the truth or doctrines that is true. But they back up their extreme, and a lot of times it's meant for the purpose of power and control. So to be indoctrinated into something or an organization or a thought process, or, a lot of times that is to make sure that they have total control over the way that you think, the way that you behave. They give you these rules, Another thing in indoctrination, it has a cycle. It does have a cycle. We're going to talk about that cycle, but it has a cycle. It's the exact same cycle used by a narcissist. They indoctrinate you into their backwards world. Their whole world is backwards, and a lot of you have met these individuals, whether in an intimate relationship, whether it's parents, whether it's your own children. Unfortunately, even your own children, because you're looking at your own children thinking that is not the way that I raised you. That is not what I have told you. But they, even your own children can have very extreme views, and then you find out that they have narcissistic personality disorder or have narcissistic traits. And so it's you're thinking to yourself, that's not how I taught them. I don't know where they got this thinking from, and I don't understand. Because you have to remember that a personality disorder is just that. It's very bizarre thinking, it's very backwards thinking, they create their own reality. They create their own reality, and then they draw people into their reality. And they indoctrinate you, meaning that they will teach you, it's not even teach you, they force you to think backwards. In other words, what's wrong is right, what's right is wrong. A lot of that is done with gaslighting and positive and negative reinforcement. Now, when you're talking about young children, that's just like in some of these cults. If you listen to some of the documentaries that are out now where they talk about, the indoctrination of children, a lot of children are born into cults or born into organizations where they get them at a very young age, and they teach them these extremist views or these backwards views, where the children, when they're very, very young, once you introduce that to them, they grow up thinking that way, and there's no other way that they're able to think unless you can prove differently. And that's a very hard thing to do, to change a person's mindset about something when they were born into an organization. Also, think about it. A child is not born racist. You know that, right? A child is not born racist. That's a learned thought process. That's an indoctrinated, learned process. Someone has taught them about racism. It's not even that they taught them they taught them how to be racist, because children are not born racist, but they're indoctrinated. Okay. And so I know the question was asked, talk about the families, when you're indoctrinated by the family. So in order to talk about that, let's talk about what exactly, when you're talking about narcissists, what exactly does the indoctrination look like? You guys ready for this? You guys are gonna be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's that simple. Because I talk about it all the time. We've talked about it. You've read about it. I've talked about it in many videos. But the way that the process of indoctrination takes place is the narcissist abuse cycle. What does the narcissist abuse cycle look like? Idealization, devaluation, discard, hoover, idealization. That is the indoctrination process. I could just end the video and say, and good night, like the end, good night. But that is actually the indoctrination process. Idealization, devaluation, discard, hoover, idealization, right? That's what it is. And in the idealization stage, think about it when you're talking about organizations, you're talking about groups, or when you're talking about family. When you have a family of narcissists, you have family of flying monkeys. When you have a family of flying monkeys, the flying monkeys, hey Kiana, hey sexy curvy red bone. All right, girl, all right, do that thing. But hey Sue, how are you? Hey Danielle. Nettles, how are you? Hey Norma, how are you doing? But when you're talking about the indoctrination, that process goes with families, and a lot of times families have become flying monkeys. And when families have become flying monkeys, the flying monkeys support and sustain that narcissist. They have become the enablers to keep that narcissist doing what that narcissist is doing. You find that in cults. You find that in situationships and children, but they become the enablers, and the flying monkeys become the enablers. And when you have family members, a lot of times, that narcissist it is like breadcrumbing them, or giving them a little carrot, to follow behind, Give me just a moment. Just be real. Are you on my hold on. Are you on my Facebook? I know you're on my Facebook as a moderator. I think you are. Okay. I just had to ban somebody doing too much over here. There we go. We're doing a little too much over there. Yeah, we're doing a little too much over there. But anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate that. But that indoctrination process, that is the whole process. You can take that wheel, and you can apply it to young children. You can apply it to families. And when you're dealing with families, I guarantee you what has happened is that narcissist has put himself or herself in a position of power within the family. And a lot of times they have created this need where the family depends on them, and they may supply them with money. The narcissist may give them money, pay their bills, pay their rent, or just take them out to eat, take them to places they may not be accustomed to, but they treat them, they love bomb them, they hoover them, they do the same thing to the family. And what happens is it creates a trauma bond too. And with that trauma bond, you have these flying monkeys that are totally faithful to this narcissist. And in the meantime, that narcissist is also smear campaigning you. And usually what happens is right as the, the idealization is very high. So that's that love bombing. And in the midst of that love bombing and during that idealization, they begin to see your humanity. And they have put you in this place of perfection. And when they start to see your humanity, like you snore, you may be sitting somewhere, you fall asleep and you snore. God forbid you got to blow your nose or use the bathroom, you know what I mean? But they begin to see your humanity, and they despise it because they're seeking perfectionism. They're seeking perfection, excuse me, they're seeking perfection. And so anybody, first of all, you already get devalued when you connect with them, because in their mind, they don't see themselves as anything. So if you connect to them, they already see you as being, they project onto you, and you're nobody now because you connected to me. I got you, so you are nobody now. That's how they see you. But in that cycle, especially within the family, they do the exact same thing. So while that narcissist is love bombing you and they're saying all these wonderful things about you, guess what the family is doing? They're coming, they're reinforcing it by doing what? They're rewarding you with attention. They're rewarding you with affection. They're giving you what you want. They make you feel good about yourself. You're the best thing since sliced bread. He's never met a woman like you. She ain't never had a man like you to care so much. They just making you feel just wonderful. You're being indoctrinated, and slowly, there's all the devaluation is already happening. They're already starting to see little things about you that they don't like. Simple things like I said, you may snore. You may have a sinus issue. They find imperfections in you. And then, you have to remember that during that idealization stage, while they're getting to know you, one thing that I said is when we meet each other and when we get to know each other, the one thing that we do is we build rapport. We build rapport with each other. So healthy people, when I say healthy people, a lot of us have our own issues. So there's no such thing as a perfect person. But, a person that is relatively, healthy, that has boundaries or is trying to develop boundaries. You may have been hurt trying to develop boundaries, but at the same time, you still have some type of empathy. And what you do is you understand that people have boundaries. So you get to know a person, you get to know what their boundaries are. You get to know, what is their absolutely not, what type of respect do they want? Do they want to be called Mr.? Do they, what is it? You're learning from that other person, and you're learning how to respect them. You're learning how to respect them, and they're learning how to respect you. And it's a mutual, reciprocation back and forth, right? But when you're dealing with a narcissist, you're not building rapport, you're being interrogated. And so you're being interrogated during the idealization stage. And I've said this before. I don't know if it was the last time I came on, but I said this before. You're being interrogated, and the questions are really, they're not to get to know you. The questions are to get to know your weaknesses. In their mind, what a weakness is. It's not a weakness, but they see it as a weakness. They see it as your kryptonite. And a lot of times I tell you guys, you get overexcited and you let your emotions take over. You cannot operate, especially in this time of day. Hey, Sicilin, but you can't operate in your emotions. You have to operate with some type of wisdom. Think about it for just a minute. When you go to a car lot, you really cannot be moved by emotions. If you see your car, I know when I see it. When I see it, I know that's what I want. You see the car, I like the car, but the salesman understand, emotional manipulation. It's so good to see you. Thank you for being here. But salesmen understand, the psychology of sales pitch and marketing. And they're going to try to, they're watching you to see how you act. And you see the car like, you're going to look good in that car. You don't get a woman out there to talk to a guy. Don't get a guy out there to talk to a woman. Now, you're going to look sexy in that car. That car is all you right there. You're going to be the envy of all your friends. They're going to be looking at you. You're going to look like you got something. Look like you wealthy. Ooh, get in there and see what it feels like. Get in that car. And then they show you look at the mirror right here. Look at the mirror right here. You look all good. You make that car look real good. And then you're all into your emotions. You don't buy a car based off of emotions. You need to go up there and make sure that it fits your budget. Is it economically when it comes to gas? And gas prices, is it economic? Is it affordable? Is the maintenance affordable? You get in a car that I can afford the payments, but can you afford the maintenance? Can you afford the maintenance? Can you afford the gas? You looking at this car, is it the gas mileage, affordability, maintenance, is it low maintenance? Is it a good car? Did I do research on this? But a lot of people are jumping into relationships and you have done no research. You're jumping in full of your emotions. He or she made me feel good. I feel relevant, and they're so easy to talk to. And when you start making a comment, they're so easy to talk to, and it feels like we're soulmates. First of all, a narcissist listens to you, and while you're telling all your business, they're not saying anything about themselves. They give you pieces and parts, and they breadcrumb you. So they're giving you pieces and parts that they want you to know, but they're listening to you so they can fill in the gaps, so they know what role to play while you're talking. So you're starting to talk about how they're mirroring you. So you're talking about, I don't like to be treated this way. I don't like to, I don't like, when I'm talking to people, I don't like to be ignored. One thing that I can't stand, and my ex used to do, my ex used to cheat on me, and my ex used to, and this is how I hurt, and this is, one thing that I don't like, and this is where I put my foot down. And you just talking and what do the young people say? You got diarrhea of the mouth. I know that was too much information, y'all, but I'm just being real, okay? But just talking too much, and I put my foot down. Now you talking to them, and you think you putting your foot down, and I'm telling them like it is, and they're just looking at you, and they're, you know what? I agree, because I was hurt the same way. You don't even realize that they're taking your story and they're making it their story to mirror you. Yeah, I know, because of the fact that I've been through the exact same thing. And you're talking about, and it broke my heart. And, I was broke. And then I was in a homeless shelter. And they're like, oh, my gosh, me too. Me too. So they're literally parroting what you're saying. And you're not listening, because they're giving you back the information that you're putting out there. But what you don't realize you're doing while you're talking and telling all your business, you're telling them what your kryptonite is. You're thinking you're telling, I put my foot down, and one thing that I do not believe in, and the first time I get disrespected that way, I'm going to, and this and that. You are telling them how to hurt you. You're telling them how to hurt you. If you ignore me, if you cheat on me, and all they're trying to do is find out, how much can I hurt you, and how much can you tolerate? How high is your pain threshold? I start doing little things, and then I gaslight you and dismiss it like, see, that's what I'm talking about. I'm trying to be here for you. You already remember, you said that you're very sensitive. So it's probably just you having some PTSD, and see you taking it too serious. Oh my gosh, I was just joking with you. Now they're downplaying everything that you're saying, but what you don't realize, everything that you said, you just gave them your weapons of mass destruction. You just told them how to hurt you. You just told them everything that they needed to know to do positive and negative reinforcement. Now, this goes with families, this goes with cults, this goes with children, this goes with your children, and positive and negative reinforcement. And just like cults, and just like with family indoctrination, they're already talking about you. And what they're doing is they'll make it sound like it's a very, when they're talking to their flying monkeys, they're already smear campaigning you by saying, yeah, she's really hurt, and sometimes I'll be concerned over her, or I'm concerned over him, and this is what, hey, Lisette, I'm really concerned over her. I think she needs to be on medication, but she trusts me, and this, but all this negative stuff about you, they're giving it to other people to make it sound like something is already wrong with you. So what they're doing is they're building a case, because they know, narcissists know, that they usually can't hold on to people for a long time. And even if they hold on to people, if your pain tolerance is very high, your pain threshold is very high, they can hold on to you for a long time. But while they're holding on, you're like home base. You're like you're the main supply that provides them with an image, that provides them with a home, provides them with finances, with whatever it is that you provide for them while they do whatever they do. And you can be with this person for years and years and years, and they're out doing whatever it is that they're doing, right? So they've locked you in, and you're a good supply, because you don't argue back. You fight to keep them. You fight. So they've already indoctrinated you. Wrong is right and right is wrong. And every time you have an opinion, they tell you how crazy your opinion is. They start gaslighting. So, and you get that positive and negative reinforcements. Let me show you how they use that kryptonite. The way that they use that kryptonite, hey there, Pearson Champion. Hey, champ, hey there. But the way that they use this positive and negative reinforcement is is when you hold them accountable for, because they don't like to be held accountable. They do not like to be they don't like to be held accountable, and they definitely don't want you to tell them, they don't like constructive criticism. They don't like criticism. They don't like to be told anything but they are perfect. If you tell them anything but they are perfect, you are now the enemy. And what they do is they get you back in check. To get you back in check, what do you think that they'll do? Everything that you said that you hate is what they'll do to hurt you. Now they're going to ignore you. Now they're going to go no contact with you. Now they're going to give you the silent treatment. Sometimes you're devalued and you're still in the house. Sometimes you're even discarded and you're still in the house. They don't talk to you. They give you the silent treatment, very minimum. They ghost you. They leave out of the house. They're gone all day and come back in the evening, or sometimes they're gone for a few days, and they know just how far to push it. But now you are being punished. So you are being punished by everything that is now your kryptonite. And so to get back into their good graces is fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Many people will fawn. You forget about your feelings, and then you kind of, you focus your attention on their feelings. Hey, Jennifer, I haven't seen you in a long time. How are you doing? But what they do now is now you're fawning, and it's the reverse hoover, and you're hoovering back. You're hoovering them back to you. You're hoovering them to get them back to you. But what happens is to get back into compliance, you go ahead, they're trying to get you back into that homeostasis, and to get you back into homeostasis, you are now discarded, you are ignored, they're cheating on you, they won't answer the telephone, all that stuff in order to pull you back. And when you give them what they want, whatever it is, when you give them what they want and you give in and you comply with their demands, guess how they reward you? But I love you so much, and I hate that we go through this, and you just don't know how much I love you. They buy you stuff. Everything that you said, they pay so much attention to you. It's almost disgusting. And a lot of times you don't realize it until you're out of the situation and you look back at it and you don't realize why you were so agitated, because it's like they give you overboard attention. They give you so much attention that you want them to get away from you, because it's like overboard. There's no happy medium. There is a happy medium in relationship, because, all of us need a break sometime. Girls need to go out with the girls. The guys need to go out with the guys, have a football night, have a soccer night, and they have a, golfing or out with the boys night or whatever, or the girls go on a girls trip or whatever. Everybody needs some time to themselves, times with the, because you're still individual people. But what they'll do is when they reward you to a point where it's like overboard, to a point where you just like, this is too much. And they're right behind you, or they're following you aware, and it's overboard. It's just too much. There's no happy medium with them. And so they're rewarding you. They give you time. They take you out to eat. But even if they take you out, it's almost like planned. Like they have something to do on Saturday, so I got to make sure that I do this with you on Friday so I can do what I want to do on Saturday. But it's like they're not spending time, but they're spending time. So it's almost like they owe you, that you owe me my time that I want on Saturday, because this is what I want to do on Saturday. So I got to dot the I's and cross the T's and be with you on Friday. And it's so is it ingenuine? It doesn't even feel genuine. It feels rushed. It feels pressured. It doesn't feel comfortable. But now they may buy you what you want. You may want a new car. You may want jewelry. You may want something new for your house. You may want some cooking, some pots or whatever. You know what I mean? And so while you're doing that, while they're doing that, all they're doing is rewarding you for your obedience. This is how the trauma bond occurs. That's how that trauma bond occurs. And so the exact same way when it comes to family, when you're being smear campaigned, they already have a view of you. And the only reason why they don't say anything is because they go with what the narcissist is doing. If the narcissist is happy and they're giving you accolades and talk about how wonderful you are, they'll do it. When the narcissist turns their back and has something negative to say, then they're going to have something negative to say. These individuals, the flying monkeys, usually don't have a mind of their own. They'll tell you, I have a mind of my own, and he don't tell me, she don't tell me nothing, and I can make up my own decision. No, you were influenced by the narcissist. That's what happened. You have been influenced by the narcissist. And because of the fact that you have been influenced by the narcissist, you don't make your own decisions. You know, once you leave out of a narcissist relationship, a lot of you struggle with, you know, the family doesn't like me anymore, the friends don't like me anymore. You got to realize when you come out of those situations that there are some friends that were the narcissist friends. They were never your friends. They were only your friends because of the fact that they were there with the narcissism, because the narcissist was with you, they became your friend. But they were all on the narcissist, and usually they're very much like the narcissist. They stay with the narcissist, they're loyal to the narcissist, they're very much like the narcissist, because birds of a feather flock together, you know. Or let's talk about crows. A bunch of crows is a murder, so a whole bunch of murders flock together. Okay, the whole bunch of crows become a murder and they flock together. And then you have those people that were your friends. And you find out when you and the narcissist, you know, you make a decision to get away from the narcissist, they come and let you know. They try to make sure that, you know, you are truly separated from that narcissist. And usually they tell you, I was just waiting for you to make that decision. You know, I'm glad that you finally woke up. If you think that you're isolated and nobody cares. But a lot of time people won't say anything to you because they already know. I'm not going to say anything to you when you're going to make a decision to stay. You know, then I become the bad guy. So I don't say anything and I keep my opinions to myself. And then eventually what happens is when they realize that you're serious and you won't go back, they'll tell you, you know, I was just waiting for you to make that decision. I was here for you all along. Whatever you need, I'm here to help you. I'm glad you opened up your eyes. And you're asking them, I don't understand why I didn't see it. We saw it. You didn't see it. But if you loved them, we love them. You love her, we love them. You know, and we ain't gonna say, and then you'll find out that those people were on your side. And then you have those that were there for the family and they're unbiased. I'm not siding with him. I'm not siding with her. You know, whatever you two decide to do, I'm your friend and I'm your friend. I'm here for both of you guys. And they're the non-messy people. You know, I'm not here for her. I'm not for her. You know, I'm here for both of you guys. If you need something, don't come over here talking about each other. You know, you have those that are just, you know, how you live your life is how you live your life. You get remarried again, you get remarried, whatever you do. So those are the three different type of people. And a lot of times you have to realize that the family of the narcissist is a family of the narcissist. And the family of the narcissist a lot of times side with the narcissist. Because 9 times out of 10, the narcissist is doing something that benefits them. And woe be that if you have a family that is impoverished and that narcissist has got a little chump change in his pocket or in her pocket, you know, and they dangle that over their head by dropping $100 here and now, you know, now and then, or maybe paying a rent every now and then, or maybe helping you with a car note every now and then. You know, in their minds, a narcissist never, ever, ever does anything out of the kindness of their heart. And some people get caught up in this altruistic narcissist that will give you the shirt off their back. They're the nicest people in the world. Everybody loves them, their community. They believe in helping, and they've helped me so much, and they've won you over. They won you over because I can't imagine them being like that. I just don't. See, nowadays we're getting a little wiser, though, and we know that some of that stuff, no, you know, you give them 6 to 12 months, they'll show you who they really are. Give them 6 to 12 months, and you'll see their true nature. You know, you'll see their true nature. And when they show you their true nature, when that mask falls, Maya Angelou said, the first time a person shows you who they are, believe them. Or we say, the first time, shame on you. The second time, shame on me, because I should have known. And boundaries, you know, boundaries are non-negotiable. When you put boundaries in place, those are non-negotiable. You don't negotiate. And a narcissist know how to push boundaries and push boundaries. And you keep moving those boundaries. And you keep moving those boundaries. Well, guess what? They don't take you serious anymore. They don't take you serious because of the fact that they know that they can push your boundaries. They know that you move your boundaries. They know that because they know how to play the game. They know how to play the game. Hold on, y'all. Let me fix my phone. There we go. But they keep moving those boundaries. You keep moving your boundaries. They already know they got you locked in. So when we talk about indoctrination, what we're talking about, to be indoctrinated, because when you discard them or when they discard you, the whole family discards you too. And the family got nothing nice to say about you. But you got to remember, these are narcissist families. And then there are some families, they still love you, and they're not gonna play the sides. They're not gonna play the sides. And so when you talk about indoctrination, what you're talking about is the narcissist abuse cycle. Idealization, that's the love bombing. And during that love bombing, you start feeling devalued because all of a sudden you're not as ripped. See that, you know how you buy a car and it's got that new leather smell to it? your leather smell starts, that new leather smell starts to fade, and narcissists get bored very quickly. And when your the new leather smell starts to fade, they're starting to look for a new leather smell. Now keep in mind, there are some narcissists that don't cheat. And the only reason why they don't cheat is because of the position that they may hold, because there are religious narcissists in position and they don't cheat. They don't believe in cheating. You have to remember too, narcissistic personality disorder, it is what it is. But 9 times out of 10, just like Dr. Sandra Brown, who did the research on, under her training, who does research, lets you know that a narcissist normally doesn't have just one personality disorder. It's a cluster of disorders, and they usually don't have just one personality disorder. And most people get caught up in trying to categorize that narcissist. They don't have they don't have exactly these traits, because it's a cluster of traits, and they have more disorders than actually that one disorder. You'll find that's why it's called clusters. But you'll find that they have more than one personality disorder. You have some that have paraphilic disorders. Paraphilic disorders, you guys know what paraphilic disorders are. Paraphilic disorders, that's where you get like pedophilia, or like what is it called? Like people that have like what is it called? Like fetishes and stuff like that. Those are like those sexual disorders. That's what paraphilic disorders are. And you have some that do have that category, and they do have their particular choices. Male, female, whatever, or certain fetishes or whatever. And then you have some narcissists that are totally appalled by that. They're disgusted by that. But yet they may have addictions, porn addictions, sex addictions, and whatever addictions, Then you have some that may have any kind of disorders. So one narcissist may have a whole bunch of different disorders. So all of them may not have paraphilic disorder. All of them may not have an addiction, certain things. And like I said, all of them do not cheat, especially if you have those narcissists that have a particular role. Like some narcissists that are, say, for example, the religious narcissists, because of the fact that they have to maintain a specific type of reputation and image, they won't cheat, because that is the image that they're trying to maintain, and they can pull the maximum amount of people to themselves. Hopefully this answered that question, because I did have one of the ladies that has been with me forever. She asked me to do a video on this, and I was going to do a video, but I said, let me just do a live so that we can expound on this. So now when we are talking about the indoctrination of a narcissist, when a narcissist indoctrinate, what is happening is, whether it's with family, and it's even in cults, it's even in extremist groups, they do indoctrinate, and sometimes they take their own statuses and put it above other people's statuses. And then they indoctrinate people. Hitler did the same thing, indoctrinated people into having them to believe this one thing, and people were enemies, and people, but it's this cycle of abuse and confusion, and they pull you into this delusional world. They pull you into this bubble of a delusional world. They pull you into this bubble of confusion, and now what's right is wrong, what's wrong is right. You start and that's that gaslighting. You begin questioning your own reality. You begin to question yourself. After a while, you begin to question, well, maybe it is me. And most of you, when you come out, most people do have narcissist traits. Most people are a little selfish and prideful, and you're working on that. But that narcissist will take that and highlight that over their own issues. They can see their issues and they see yours, but theirs is a disorder versus yours is traits. There's a difference between a disorder and traits. And so they'll see traits that are similar to theirs, and then they'll call you out for being a narcissist. So many people, a lot of times when I get people into therapy, the first thing they say is, the narcissist called me a narcissist. And so I'm beginning to be concerned, and they really panicking about the fact that I don't want to be a narcissist, and I'm afraid that I'm a narcissist. If you're that afraid and you're that anxious about being a narcissist, you're probably not a narcissist, because a narcissist doesn't panic about being a narcissist because they don't see themselves as a narcissist. They're not the problem. You're the problem. So hopefully, did you learn something from this? I hope you learned something from this. And just be real, if you can give me about 5 minutes, I'll answer some questions. Please ask me questions about what I just talked about. Sometimes you guys come in there and ask me where did I get my makeup from, who cut my hair, where my glasses come from. I'm not going to answer those questions. Just ask me some questions based off of what we just talked about. said, where did they learn the silent treatment? It's abuse. I mean, you kind of learn it from being in relationships. When you get quiet and you watch how people react, it's one of those trial and error type of thing. And the more you react, the more they know it works. Most of us do it too. If you get mad at somebody, you give them a silent treatment. I'm going to punish you by not talking to you. You may not think that way, but that's what you do. I'm not even going to talk to you. You giving them, you're punishing them. Really, you're punishing them. You're not thinking about the fact, no one has put, you may not have put two and two together, but when you get angry, a lot of times you just stop talking. I don't have nothing to say. And if it takes me a long time to talk to you, I'm not going to talk to you because you're punishing them from hurting you. So it's something, it's that trial and error. And then you see how people react, and then you just do it, and if they really react, you just do it more often. So it's a trial and error type thing that they learn. Yep, librarian said intermittent reinforcement kept me hanging till it didn't. Yep, exactly. Yep, they can be passive aggressive. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Sue. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Any more questions? Anybody want to say anything about this? But hopefully I answered the question. My girl is not on tonight. She'll probably go back and hit the replay. Normally I get a message that she hit the replay. That silent treatment is abuse. Yeah, that's psychological abuse. It is to purposely give somebody the silent treatment. Now, keep in mind that sometimes when you are, like, say, family members, when you have family members that are highly narcissistic, highly toxic, highly pathological, and have a high level of psychopathy, put it that way. I mean, mental illnesses and mental diseases, and they're toxic. You have the right to protect your inner peace, to protect your mental health. And sometimes that means, going no contact. So in the midst of going no contact, it may look like the silent treatment, but it's not the silent treatment. You're going no contact. I cannot engage with my family. I cannot engage with my family, my friends. They are toxic. I can't do it. And by distancing yourself, by going no contact, is to help your mind clear. And a lot of times you find that brain fog will clear. Now, a narcissist will turn around and tell you you're being abusive by giving me the silent treatment, or like, say they're being abusive on the phone. You're like, I can't do this, and I'm just going no contact. I cannot do this anymore. You go no contact. You won't respond to them. You won't answer them. So then what they'll do is they'll flip it, they'll reverse it on you. And what they'll say is that you're being abusive, you're using the silent treatment, and that is emotionally abusive. And you just have to stick to your guns. I'm not going to get pulled back into the cycle. I'm not going to do it. So see, they can use that against you. They use the silent treatment for the purpose of punishing. And when you go no contact, that silent is not even it's a silent treatment, but the no contact is no contact. I am disconnecting myself. I'm just disconnecting myself. I refuse to keep going through this. And sometimes it's silent. Like I said, family will use that against you. They'll use that against you. You giving me the silent treatment and you are manipulative and emotionally abusive. You don't respond to that. Don't even, because sometimes you get into emotional, like, it does. It is the same thing. And I'm doing the same thing. No, it don't work for me. Because once I go no contact, I ain't talking to you. No. Once you have stepped over my boundaries too much, I'll be nice to you. But I won't engage too often. So my partner uses coercive control and Darvo. How do you handle those techniques, or is leaving the only way? Well, if you're being abused, your best bet is to get out of there. Now, keep in mind, I always give the disclaimer that if you are married, if you have children, you just can't jump up and leave. In each state, there is legalities and there are parental rights that if you, and the courtroom is a place where the narcissist thrives. And that narcissist thrives in the courtroom because they like to play, they like to cry wolf and they make you look like you crazy. And so if you are trying to leave, your best bet is to reach out to a domestic violence program or a domestic violent advocate. They'll connect you so they can help you legally with paperwork and to get you out of the situation. that you just can't jump up with your children unless you go into hiding under protection of domestic violence advocates. You know, they get you out of there because they got paperwork to prove that you need to be protected. But if you take your kids and you decide to leave, there's going to be an Amber Alert out there on you. And then you really play into their hand because they'll take those kids away from you. The judge will take them kids away because they'll make it seem like you kidnapped those children. So if you, a disclaimer, can't just jump up and leave. But if you don't have anything together, sometimes even leaving a home, you know, you leave a home and it looks like, you know, you abandon that individual, you know, there are legalities. And that's why I say get with a domestic violence advocate, you know, to make sure that you understand the legalities of leaving out of there. There are laws that will protect you and get you out of there. And so, but when you are trying to handle that, you can't handle you know, being in a narcissistic relationship. A lot of people come to me in therapy and I lose a lot of clients because I maintain my boundaries. I'm not going to help you thrive in that relationship because you're not. I'm not going to help you to stay in that relationship because I'm not the one that's going to help you stay in that relationship. You're going to have to find someone else because that goes against my principles. You know, and most of the time when we're in therapy, we don't impose our principles. But when it comes to narcissist abuse, I don't help anybody to usually say, help me to have a quality of life or help me to maneuver in here. I'm going to help you maneuver out. But if you don't plan on leaving, there's nothing I can do for you. There, and I will tell them there's nothing that I can do for you. I've lost clients that way. It doesn't bother me because I refuse to say, if you stay in, this is what you can do. And this is how you can have a healthy relationship. And this is how you can, you know, and there's some situations I won't do it. And I'll let you know, I'm not the therapist for you. I'm not the one for you. You know, what are your plans? Do you plan on staying or you plan on leaving? Do you know people get very upset when I ask that question? Well, I didn't come here for you to tell me how to leave, then I'm not the therapist for you. You know, all money ain't good money. And I don't care if some people try to, you know, bribe you with that money. You know, I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'll be gentle as much as I can, but you know, so I can't help you stay in the situation. I can't help you how to handle and give you techniques on how to handle what they're doing. I'm not the one. I'm not the one. And I usually don't even answer that question. I'm not the one. I can't do it. Oh, I got my time. I got the time. Let me see. You said, I have a son, and that's exactly why I stay to protect him. You know, the sad part about it is a lot of people stay in these type of situations thinking they're protecting the children, but you're actually not protecting the children because your children are going through secondary trauma. What they see you go through, most children will pick up on your emotions, and then you're also teaching them how not to have a relationship. Either they're going to be the abuser or they're going to be abused. Even sons, you know, you'll teach them either how to treat a woman because of what they're seeing, or you're going to teach them how to be treated, you know, by a woman. They find a, you know, and a lot of times they will also grow up and have a lack of respect for you or any other woman because what they saw. And so most people justify, is that cognitive dissonance, they justify staying in there because of the kids, but you don't know that you're traumatizing your children as well. And a lot of times, you know, traumatizing those children, you'd be surprised that as they get older, sometimes you are developing a narcissist because they're learning how to be a narcissist by watching the other parent. And so a lot of times staying for the kids, I understand that. You know, a lot of times you can't afford to raise them by yourself and there's nowhere to go. But sometimes you swallow your pride and you get into a shelter. And a lot of times when you are in a shelter, you are priority when it comes to housing. You are priority when it comes to programs that help you get back into the workforce. You are priority when it comes to childcare services. You're priority when it comes to school and trying to help you, you know, to get back out of the system. It's for temporary measure. But I promise you, you know, and just to tell you, I'm going to tell you this, but don't tell nobody else, okay? I had to make those same decisions. You know, do I stay because of the kids or do I leave? And one thing that I had to make a decision, I refused to allow my children to go through. When I had my youngest daughter on my way out of the military, I made a decision. I refused to allow her to witness what the older ones witnessed. I refused. I saw the damage it did to the older ones, and I refused. I said, I refuse to allow this baby to go through what the older ones went through. You know, I'm still dealing with a lot of the fallout from that, you know, from the older ones, you know, and sometimes it could be very hard because I still am in teacher mode with them. And the youngest one, you know, she's going through certain things, you know, because of things that she realizes now about her father. But the one thing that I had to make a decision is that I refused to stay in a situation and allow my children to be damaged anymore, because they were watching me, being damaged, and and zone out and operate in what is it called, in autopilot, but I refused, and I had to make that decision to go, because I said I refuse to have another child wounded by what they see and what they witness. And you staying is not helping your child, it's actually hurting your child, because you're teaching your child what not to accept and what not to do. And what he sees his father do to you as a mother is either what he's going to do to a woman, because he has no value for a woman, or he's going to have issues with women because he's going to see women as being weak and do the same thing, or just have no respect for women because he'll see you as being weak. And sometimes you don't find that out until they get older, and then they say stuff to you. And then when they say certain things to you, you realize, dang, I should have made these decisions when I was young. So ladies, gentlemen, please don't ever stay, and men too, please don't ever stay in a situation you keep saying is for the kids, because if you're being abused, your children are being abused, and that's secondary trauma, what we call also secondary trauma or vicarious trauma. And they're being traumatized. They can get PTSD by what they witnessed you go through. And a lot of your children grow up full of anxiety. They got, you think they got ADHD, and what they may have is complex PTSD. And complex PTSD and ADHD can look very similar, but these children are traumatized by what they heard and what they see. And sometimes they may not have ever seen the father put their hands on you. Ladies, they may not have seen the father put their hands on you, or gentlemen, they may not have ever seen the woman put their hands on you. But what you have taught them is what is unacceptable, how a woman treats you as a man. They talk to you any kind of way, and you just take it, you tolerate it. I'm here for the kids, I'm here. But you have taught them how to treat a man, by how the mother treated you, or you have taught them how to treat a woman by how the father treated you. So don't think that you're helping the child. I'm doing it for the kids. A lot of times women, we attach that we justify it. If I can't have them, I'll just stay with the kids, because that's the connection between you and them, because you're not ready to let go. But I promise you, you let go, it's going to come a time, you keep on watching programs like this, connect with a therapist that is trained in narcissist abuse recovery, and I promise you, there's a light at the end of a tunnel. You're going to live, you're going to live again. I promise you, because I'm living again, and I'm happy with life. And if I can do it, and I'm your moderator, I'm not moderator, I'm your facilitator, then you can do it as well. That's the only reason why I share that with you guys, because if I can do it, you can do it as well. So hopefully that answers some questions tonight. I really appreciate all of you guys. Thank you so much for always being here. D-Fresh, I hope that answered. Oh, you're narcissist, a woman. Same thing. You're a man, so it scares me to try to leave. What she could do is take my child away, and he'd be in trouble. You know who you need to connect with, D-Fresh? Go look up Judge Anthony Bompiani. Go look up Anthony Bompiani. Because fathers have rights too. And like I said, you're staying, I understand, and it's very honorable for a man to want to stay with his children. I really honor you for that, because a lot of households don't have the fathers in there anymore. And a lot of times people think it was all the man. But what you don't know sometimes is that women can be just as vicious, more vicious than a man, because she's got that nurturing side. And so, for most of society, when you talk about domestic violence and narcissistic abuse, believe it or not, and I know some of you guys don't want to hear it, but narcissistic personality disorder, there's a higher percentage in males than in females. Borderline personality disorder is a higher percentage in females than there is in males. But normally people that have borderline personality disorder also have NPD. And a lot of people that have NPD also have borderline personality disorder. I think that's how it goes. But, but a lot of times women, they use that sex appeal, they use that nurturing, they use them tears, they emotionally manipulate. And so a lot, they'll accuse you of things. You done did things to the kids, and they know you haven't done things to the kids. And so women can be vicious and catty, and so men, you too got to protect yourself. Now, understandably, we do have narcissists that come on this channel to pretend like they're victims. And I'm not saying you're doing that, D-Fresh, but, there are narcissists that come in here and pretend to be victims, and it is what it is. But At the same time, you go and check out Anthony Bompiani, but do know that unfortunately, you're training your son on what is acceptable. You're training him that this is how women see one or two things that happen. You're training him that's how women treat men. And so he may be a victim just like you become a victim. Or you're training him that's how women do men. So he'll learn to hate women and he'll attack women to attack his mother. He'll attack women to get back at his mother. Every woman now is paying the price for what his mother has done to you. And so you have to remember that you're training them as to what a relationship is. And I understandably, I can't give you any legal advice. I wish I could, but I'm not a lawyer and I don't want to cross those lines. But go check out Anthony Bompiani. And you can even get him as coaching. He tries to make his program very affordable for people that a lot of times have a hard time paying for lawyers and legal assistance. But he's really good. He's really good. But listen, I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys go. Because I know me, I can just keep going. I was tired coming on. I was like, I'm gonna get in and get out, but I already know when I get on here, I enjoy talking to everyone. But I don't want to drag this on because I know Jess Pierre has to get up early in the morning. I know some of you guys have to wake up early in the morning too. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you guys so much for always coming in here and supporting me. Do know, give me about a week, and I'm gonna start advertising. I had a major project that I had to get out of the way. I got that done last week, and so I am now focusing my attention as promised. You're so welcome, and thank you so much, King, for being here. I appreciate you sharing that with me, and hopefully that helped you some. One thing that I say is, listen. A lot of the people that are on here, D Fresh, I have a lot of female followers. Even when I go look at my statistics, I have a very high female following. A lot of times men won't speak out on the abuse that they have gone through or are going through. And so I commend you, first of all, for sharing that with us, because a lot of times, in society, men are taught to be tough, the protectors, the fighters. And, they're not, how embarrassing is that? Because most people don't believe that a man can be abused by a woman. But in these times and days, we know that women can be very vicious. And I just want you to know that here on my channel, even though I'm a woman, I've never been a man. And despite what people say, I've had 3 children. I've given birth to 3 children. But on my channel, a lot of times I do address the women, but I always make sure to let people know that this can apply to men and women. And I usually appeal to the women a lot, but I want you to know that on this channel, you're safe. One thing that we don't do, we don't bash our kings. When we come in here, we honor our kings. We protect our kings. When you share with us, a lot of these females on here, they're going to protect you. If people are disrespectful towards you, my moderators will block. So that's something you don't have to worry about. But we honor our kings, we protect our kings, and we respect you guys. And I just want you to know that when you come, this is a safe place to come, and you don't have to worry. Sometimes you're dealing with women that have been wounded, and so sometimes they're triggered. But, just trust my moderators and trust me. We're going to make sure that you're taken care of. And I really honor and I totally appreciate, you coming on here and sharing that, because that was a vulnerable moment for you. And I wanted to respect you and honor you for that, sir. I appreciate you. Thank you guys so much for being here. Once again, I just want to stop and say that to you, D Fresh. Hopefully that has helped you. And I want you to have a beautiful evening. He said he have lots of compassion for women in this scenario. Please know that I understand that this happens more to women, but yes, it happens to guys too. Absolutely. It's just a lot of guys don't talk about it a lot. A lot of guys don't talk about it. And so when guys do talk about it, a lot of times here on this channel, we listen. We listen to what you guys have to say, because trust me, I can say a lot about a man's feelings and things about men. And the only reason why I do that is not because I have personal experience, not because I'm the expert in it, is because I've learned from men. People like Bishop T.D. Jakes, people like Ron Carpenter, people like Bishop R.C. Blakes, listening to men, and when men teaching women about emotions or about how men feel, then I come back and just regurgitate that information and tell you, not because of the fact that I know, not because of the fact that I know how to be a man, because I don't know the burden that men carry. I don't, our men are under attack, so I don't know the burden of what men carry, but I do know I give you the information based off of what a man has told me. And so I give that information because one of the things I think it was Bishop Jake said, you know, here you go, you have all these women experts talking about men and how they feel and what they're thinking. And that is so absolutely wrong. And there's a gentleman, I cannot think of his name. Oh, I cannot think of his name. I love listening to him because he actually addresses men and men issues, and he says things that women absolutely cannot and will never say because they don't have the experience and they don't have the knowledge and they don't know what men feel. And if I think of his name, I'm going to definitely put it up there for you guys so you can listen to him talk, because he did an interview with somebody you guys know. And he was phenomenal. I really love listening to him. I learn a lot from him as a man and how men think, how men emotions work, how men are attacked, you know, and how men have to protect themselves. But, you know, I'll put all the different channels that I listen to sometimes, listening to men talk to men. And I love listening to men talk to men because men will say things that women never even thought about. So be very, as Leary, be very careful when you listen to a woman and she's an expert on men emotions and men, you know, without giving credit to a man, you know, because she had to learn it from somewhere, or she's going by her opinion. And sometimes those opinions are absolutely wrong because unless she learned it from a man, or unless she been a man, you know, she can't tell you anything about a man. Men have to tell you about men. And then a lot of times when we repeat it, it's because a man has taught us this. And I commend people, like I said, I commend people like Bishop R.C. Blakes, Bishop T.D. Jakes, Apostle Ron Carpenter, the late Dr. Miles Monroe. All these people talked about men. And ladies, when you want to know something about a man, don't run to a woman and learn something about a man. Run to a man and listen to a man. Go listen to YouTube, men talking about men. And men, we need more of you talking about stuff because we need to sit at your feet and listen to what you have to say. Because men have emotions too. And society has taught, you know, little boys don't cry. Men cry. You know, little boys don't cry, don't show your emotions, man up, be a man. Well, what we're doing is we're teaching a man that your feelings are not okay. You having tears is not okay. You having emotions is not okay. And men have emotions just like women have emotions. The society has taught us that men are not supposed to show emotions, so men don't know how to show emotions because when they do show emotions, they either looked at as being weak or, you know, a woman does not know how to... a woman doesn't know how to protect his emotions. And I remember a man saying it made so much sense, and I didn't think about this. They said when a woman says, you know, I can't trust him, 9 times out of 10, he's cheated, and she don't trust him anymore. But when a man says that he don't trust you as a woman, most women get mad. I wasn't the one who cheated. I wasn't the one who did this. It was you, cheated. It was you. Yeah, no. What a man, and what I learned from a man, when a man says that I can't trust you, what a man is telling you is I've told you the secrets of my heart. I've become vulnerable to you, and I've expressed some emotions that I normally hide. And I told you some information. And what happened was, in the midst of a fight or in the midst of an argument, you used that against me. So I can't trust you with my heart. I can't trust you with my vulnerabilities. I can't trust you. You know, some of you guys, I understand that everybody doesn't believe in the Bible, you know, just listen to the principle. But in the Bible, there's a story about Samson and Delilah. And the fact that Samson told his greatest secret was the power was in his hair. You know, she worried him and bothered him, but he laid his head in her lap because she protected his emotions, not knowing that behind his back she was telling it. But he trusted her with all of his emotions, and she made him feel like a man. And he told the secrets. And when he told the secrets, she betrayed him and cut his hair. From that point on, he probably said, I don't trust you. Of course, it's too late then. You got your hair cut and your eyes poked out, you know. So when a man tells you that he don't trust you, ladies, 9 times he's telling you that you talk too daggone much. And I've been vulnerable, and I told you my feelings and my emotions, and you used it against me. You used it in an argument to get the upper hand or some leverage. And you hurt me and wounded me deeply. And so if you get you know, for those of you that will get back into a relationship one day, understand one thing: you got to protect his emotions. You have to protect his vulnerabilities. If you protect a man's vulnerabilities and he tells you the secrets of his heart and you protect that, he'll trust you. He'll lay his head in your lap and he'll trust you. And men, you know, when a woman feels safe, she feels protected, she feels taken care of, you make her feel pretty, you know, she can be an ugly mud duck, but you tell her she's sexy, she's beautiful, shoo, you can't tell us nothing. We be that ugly mud duck with duck lips. My man said I look good. That's how we work. Well, that's enough. I'm ready to go. I hope you guys have a beautiful evening. Thank you guys so much for being here. And I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful week. Thank you for always supporting me. You guys stay tuned. I'll be back. I'll be back, okay? You guys, you have a blessed evening as well, Sue. And good night to you too, Roseanne. I appreciate you guys. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much. You guys have a nice evening. And once again, thank you so much, D Fresh, Dr. Hooper, all the gentlemen that came here. I appreciate you and I salute you, Kings. Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody.